You've been saving living room inspiration photos for months, maybe years. Beautiful spaces that make you feel something. And then you look at your own living room and wonder, why doesn't mine feel like that? It's probably not your furniture. It's probably not your budget. It's usually 2 or 3 small things that are holding the entire room back. Choices that made perfect sense when you made them, but that design has quietly moved past. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what those things are and what's replacing them in 2026. You don't have to change everything. Sometimes one shift is all it takes. But first, trends are not rules. They're directions. If you love your gray living room, your light oak coffee table, or your oversized sectional, keep them and enjoy them. Your home should make you happy. What I'm sharing is simply where design is heading, so you can make informed choices when and if you're ready. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Hit subscribe and like. It takes 1 second. We're starting with the first thing anyone sees when they walk into your living room, your walls.
What if the biggest problem in your living room is something you're not seeing? For years, the advice was simple. Keep walls clean, white, and minimal, and let the furniture do the talking. But in 2026, designers are increasingly saying the opposite. Your walls are the largest surface in the room, and leaving them completely bare makes the entire space feel flat and unfinished. The options for adding warmth and personality to walls have expanded dramatically. Wood paneling or wainscoting, including peel and stick versions that need no contractor, adds instant architectural character. Wallpaper has come back in a major way, from bold botanicals to panoramic scenes that create an immersive, almost story-like effect. Grass cloth brings natural texture. Even a curated gallery wall with a mix of frames and meaningful artwork transforms a blank surface into something personal. And if you're renting and can't make permanent changes, peel and stick wallpaper, large-scale leaned artwork, and textile wall hangings achieve similar warmth without a single nail hole. You don't have to treat an entire room. One accent wall behind the sofa, one section of paneling, one curated collection of frames. That's often all it takes to shift the feeling from generic to yours. But walls are only the background. The next shift is about the color that fills your entire room, and this one has been building for years. Remember when gray was the answer to everything? Here's why it stopped working. Gray was everywhere for a decade, and gray itself isn't a bad color. It's a timeless neutral that pairs beautifully with almost anything. The issue was never gray. It was the all-gray approach where every surface matched and the room lost all warmth and life. In 2026, the palette is shifting decisively toward warmer territory. Warm whites with golden undertones, sandy beiges, soft taupes. Greiga, that beautiful blend of gray and beige, has become a designer favorite because it bridges both worlds. And saturated colors are coming back with confidence. Forest greens, midnight blues, deep burgundies, earthy terracottas. These aren't accent colors anymore. They are becoming the main palette. One technique gaining momentum is color drenching. That means painting walls, trim, baseboards, and ceiling all in one rich tone to create a cocooning, immersive effect. It's bold when done well. But if that feels like too much, the simplest version of this shift is just adding warmth around what you already have. If you love your gray sofa, keep it and bring it to life with a warm-toned rug, a few jewel-toned velvet pillows, and some natural wood elements. Your gray becomes the anchor, not the entire room. Even swapping out cool-toned throw pillows for warmer ones, a deep emerald, a rich burgundy, or a warm terracotta can completely change how a gray room feels. It costs almost nothing, and the difference is immediate. For anyone who wants to experiment with bolder color but isn't ready to commit to paint, try this. Start with one saturated accent piece, a single velvet pillow in a color that excites you, a richly colored throw blanket draped over the back of your sofa, a deep-toned rug. Live with it for a week. If it makes you smile, add another layer. If it doesn't, return it. The goal is to find the warmth that feels right for you, not to follow someone else's palette. One practical note. Saturated dark colors work best in rooms with good natural light, where sunlight balances the depth. If your living room doesn't get much light, or if you live in a warm climate where you want things to feel cool and open, adapting this trend might mean warm neutrals with more richness, rather than going fully dark. Now your walls have texture, your colors have warmth, but the next shift changes what you're actually sitting on. There's a reason your living room feels stiff, and it has nothing to do with the layout. Sharp, angular, boxy furniture dominated living rooms for years. Clean lines, minimal profiles, everything geometric. In 2026, the edges are softening. Rounded sofas, scalloped chairbacks, arched mirrors replacing rectangular ones. Organic shapes that make a room feel warm and inviting instead of rigid. This pairs with a major texture shift. Velvet is making a genuine comeback as one of the easiest ways to add richness. A velvet accent chair in a deep jewel tone. Velvet throw pillows. A velvet blanket draped over a neutral sofa. It adds luxury instantly. If you have pets, look specifically for performance velvet fabrics designed to resist pet hair and clean easily. Standard velvet can attract fur, but performance versions hold up beautifully in households with dogs and cats. Beyond velvet, layer different textures throughout the room. Linen next to leather. A chunky knit beside smooth ceramic. A woven basket next to a polished wood surface. That contrast of materials is what makes a room feel collected and alive rather than showroom flat. Curves and texture change how your room feels, but the next shift changes how your room actually works, and this is where comfort meets practicality. That sofa you love might be the reason your room never feels quite right. Oversized sectionals dominated living rooms because they delivered maximum comfort in one piece. And for many people, they still do exactly that. Whether it's where you spend your evenings reading, where your husband watches the game, or where the whole family gathers, a sectional that supports your body the way you need it to is not something any trend should tell you to give up. The shift isn't away from comfort. It's toward furniture that gives you comfort and flexibility. Modular systems where you can add, remove, or reposition sections as your life changes. A sofa paired with 2 accent chairs, especially swivel chairs that can face the TV or turn for conversation, gives you similar seating with far more versatility. Sleeker profiles that don't overwhelm a room create better flow and more breathing room. The reason this matters is practical. When your family situation changes, when you rearrange a room, when you move, modular and separate pieces adapt. A massive fixed sectional often doesn't. But if your sectional is working perfectly for you, keep it. Comfort always wins. Speaking of how your living room is arranged, there's another setup that designers have been quietly cringing at for years, and it has nothing to do with your sofa. There's one thing in your living room that makes designers cringe the moment they walk in. Perhaps one of the most telling signs of a living room that has not been updated in a while is when the entire space revolves around a large television mounted directly over the fireplace. That giant black rectangle sitting above the mantel, with every piece of furniture pointed at it like theater seating. Here's the issue nobody mentions until you have already lived with it. When a TV is mounted above a fireplace, it sits too high. Your neck tilts at an unnatural angle to watch it, and after a while, especially during a long movie or an evening of binge watching, the discomfort becomes real. For anyone who already deals with neck or back issues, this setup can genuinely aggravate the problem. Beyond ergonomics, there is a design problem. When the TV is the focal point, everything else in the room, your artwork, your fireplace, your carefully chosen objects, disappears. The room becomes about the screen instead of the space. Here's the shift happening. Instead of mounting a TV over the fireplace, more homeowners are moving the screen to a different wall entirely. A low media console, built-in cabinetry that conceals the screen when it is not in use, or simply a different wall where the screen can sit at proper eye level, roughly 42 to 48 inches from the floor to the center of the screen when you are seated. If you still want your fireplace wall to have presence, fill it with meaningful art, a sculptural mirror, or a collected arrangement of objects that tells a story. Let the fireplace be the focal point it was designed to be, and let the TV live somewhere it does not compete. And if you absolutely want the TV above the mantle, there are mount systems that extend and tilt downward, bringing the screen to a more comfortable viewing angle. It is a compromise, but it addresses the biggest ergonomic concern. Now, you have warmth on the walls, comfortable furniture with better lines, your TV at the right height, and rich textures throughout. The next shift is about the wood tones that anchor your room. Your furniture might be missing one element that changes everything. Light blonde oak had an incredible run. That bright Scandinavian-inspired look made living rooms feel airy and open for years. And if you love that feel in your home, it still works. What's changing is that designers are now bringing in darker wood tones, walnut, mahogany, ebony, to create depth and contrast alongside those lighter pieces. A room full of light wood can sometimes feel flat. Add one dark element and suddenly there's dimension. You don't have to replace anything. The smartest approach is mixing. A dark walnut tray on a light oak coffee table. A deeper toned side table beside a lighter bookshelf. Pairing woods from the same warm family. A lighter piece with amber undertones alongside a darker one with similar warmth creates contrast that feels intentional and collected. And if you're on a budget, a single dark wood tray from a place like Home Goods or a thrift store can shift the entire energy of a coffee table for under $20. That handles the physical pieces in your room. But the final shift is the one that pulls everything together into a space that feels uniquely and unmistakably yours. If your room looks like it came from one store in one afternoon, that's the problem. Living rooms where every single piece comes from the same collection, the same store, the same era. Whether it's all mid-century modern, all farmhouse, or all ultra-minimalist, are starting to feel more like a showroom display than a real home. When everything matches perfectly, nothing stands out. The room tells no story. It looks like you walked into a furniture store and pointed at a display. The same applies to forced design features that don't belong. Shiplap in a mid-century modern house. Farmhouse beams in a contemporary condo. Decorative arches added to a home where no arches exist anywhere else. When a design choice was clearly added because it was trending rather than because it suits your home's actual architecture, it reads as forced, and it dates the space faster than almost anything else. The shift in 2026 is toward curated eclecticism, mixing what you love from different styles, different decades, and different sources, but with a unifying thread that keeps it from feeling chaotic. A traditional tufted armchair next to a contemporary coffee table, a vintage rug underneath a modern sofa, ceramics from a trip you took years ago beside books and objects that mean something to you, a piece of art you found at a flea market hung next to a print you bought last month. The room tells your story, not a catalog story. The key to making it work is a cohesive color palette. When the tones feel related across different styles, everything reads as intentional rather than random. Without that thread, it can tip into cluttered. This is also where curated maximalism comes in. 2026 is giving homeowners permission to display collections, layer patterns, and add visual richness, as long as there's an organizing principle. A bold floral pillow paired with a small geometric rug, both sharing similar colors. A bookshelf with meaningful objects grouped with intention rather than scattered randomly. Mixing a large-scale pattern with a small-scale one in a shared color family creates visual energy without chaos, and you don't need expensive pieces to create this look. Some of the best items for a layered, collected room come from thrift stores, estate sales, and flea markets. Vintage pottery, old hardcover books, brass candlesticks, wooden bowls, these have a warmth and character that new, mass-produced decor simply can't match. One vintage find mixed with your existing pieces can shift the entire personality of a room.
7 shifts, 3 themes, warmer walls, smarter furniture, and more personal styling. Design in 2026 is moving away from cold, flat, matchy interiors and towards spaces that feel warm, layered, and genuinely yours. More color depth on your walls, more texture contrast in your fabrics, more flexibility in how your furniture works, your TV at a height that doesn't hurt your neck, more of what you actually love, regardless of where it came from or what decade it belongs to. And you absolutely do not have to overhaul your entire room to feel this shift. A warm-toned throw on a gray sofa, a dark wood tray on a light table, one wall with texture or color, a velvet pillow in a jewel tone you've always loved but never tried, moving your TV down from above the mantle to a proper console. Start with one swap, see how it feels, add from there. If you've been thinking about refreshing your living room, maybe it's finally time to make it feel the way you've always wanted it to. Start with the one thing that excites you most. Your living room is yours. Make it feel like it. If this gave you an idea you're excited to try, share it with a friend who's been staring at the same room wondering what to change. Sometimes all you need is a starting point.